how much do you get swayed one way or the other in your past experience watching these guys?
Yeah, you kind of just try to take bits and pieces of their games individually, just kind of focus on, okay, like this is what he did as a three-point shooter, this is how he looked reading in the pick and roll, and just, or this is how he looked playing defense and help side defense, and, you know, things of that nature, more than like, okay, he had 25 points, he's immediately gonna, you know, come into the league scoring. It's more of like just the bits and pieces of the game that you kind of look for, and also like you pay more attention to the guys who do show something, especially when you didn't have those types of expectations, more than like a guy that we came in and, you know, we saw like, I remember Trae Young, his first summer league game, he was pretty bad.
It was rough.
Yeah. So it's like you can't necessarily put everything on what happens here, but you just kind of look at, you know, certain bits and pieces of what happens.
Characteristics of guys that would definitely translate. Like if we see a guy like Nikola Jovic for the Miami Heat, and you see the weight he's put on, and you see the way he's attacking the rim, just not letting guys deter him from getting inside, using his size. I mean, he's a legit 6'11", almost 7-footer, and it seems like every time I watch him, he's dedicated to getting inside the paint and at least drawing a foul. And he has the shooting touch. He's going to convert a lot of those free throws. So he's going to generate a lot of points from the restricted area. He's going to get a lot of points from the outside. So things like that will translate. And, okay, sure, if he scores 30 points in the Summer League game, we're not going to automatically assume he's going to average 20 points for the season. But those flashes definitely kind of help us connect the dots as far as what kind of player he could be.
Yeah, definitely for those second-year guys, you're looking for, you know, what do they improve on? Like, how do they come in physically? How are they shooting the ball? You know, if a guy comes in and he's like a terrible shooter, you know, relatively, you know, what does he look like in that aspect? Or somebody who just constantly got beat off ball, you know, like what is he looking like in those specific areas? And I think those are the type of things you look for those guys who have been here before. And then also, if they continue doing it, then you know there's something that's, you know, like a James Book night, for example, that, you know, certain things just haven't changed over the time, then, you know, it might be headed in a different direction.
Exactly. And I'm glad that you this conversation has shifted to a place where we're talking about these guys, how they translate to the regular season. And then we also want to talk about sophomores. So there are players out here in Summer League that are playing for the second time. Some players fare really well on their second tour of duty. Champagne is a name that comes to mind. He's just been tearing the court up every time he hits the court. He's obviously learned a lot during his first campaign, sitting out for, you know, another campaign. He's learned a lot, and he's applying all down the court every single time down. And then there are other players on the other side of the spectrum, and they're here even maybe for the third time, and you're just really it seems like they're just desperate. You're desperate to see any little bit of improvement from them. Kai Jones is a name that comes to mind for me as a guy where I watched him in 2021 in Summer League, and I saw flashes, and it's like, hey, can you put this all together in a package that allows a team to play you for 15, 20 minutes a game without worrying about you being a defensive liability, getting lost, just not being smart with the ball. And it seems like in this third stint, things are kind of the same. And those are the red flags that really, I think, make a team really just get down on these guys and question whether or not they even want to bring them back for another campaign. So when it comes to sophomores, are there any players that come to mind for you as guys that have really taken advantage of the opportunity to come in here as a veteran, and then maybe some guys that haven't done quite the same thing?
Yeah, so the first person that was actually on my list was Julian Champagnie as well. I think he's been excellent. Another guy who, you know, played yesterday was Jabari Smith Jr. And it was funny because he had a pretty down first half, and then, you know, both on Twitter and people, you know, around me in the arena, you could kind of feel like, you know, they just wanted more out of him, and, you know, obviously missing shots and, you know, just having a few plays just not go his way. But in that second half, he was big time, you know, doing all the things that we've seen from him, and that, like, who he is as a player, making the pull-up threes and transition, and, you know, converting on those post-up looks that he had, those face-ups. And then also, you know, doing things defensively, being active on that end. He had, you know, the big block down the stretch where Portland kind of did something that they shouldn't have and kept going, which led to, you know, Tari Eason throwing the inbound pass and then making the game-winning three. And then, you know, that's what we remember. But I've really liked what I've seen from him so far, just in that aspect, because, you know, when he is hitting shots, he is a guy that is someone who is worthy of being a top 5 pick as he was last year. So he'd be on that list. I think another guy would be Malachi Branham, you know, on the Spurs, of course. You know, he was somebody who, you know, even was playing before out in the California Classic, I believe. And just his ability, like his confidence, you know, the way that he moves with the ball now. He actually played fairly well. I thought he was a little bit underrated as a rookie, at least down the stretch. I know he averaged like about 14 points shot like 46% from the field on like the last 29 games. I only know that because I was preparing for a video that I was doing a couple weeks ago. But you know, he's brought that into summer league and been a big-time shot maker, somebody who I think is going to make a big difference for the Spurs in the future of their franchise. Obviously, you know, having Wemby there and, you know, just the direction that they're going in. So those guys would be at the top of my list. I know there's a few others that have been kind of making strides, but I've really liked what I've seen from them.